Welcome to episode number 261 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for all of you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. You can find us by searching for us searching Google or Bing or even Yahoo if you want to. Beyond Social Media Show is what you should search for, and you'll find all of our outlets there. We were recording live on YouTube on March 3, 2019. Plenty to talk about this week as usual, including Martha Stewart goes chronic, brainwaves, in her words, Twitter hashtags, insurance Seussified, LinkedIn notifications, AOC to the rescue, brand value visualized, webless, the seats have eyes, non-influencers, and much, much more. BL kicks it off with the best story of the week, as she does every week. BL, what do you got?
Well, I'm really kind of excited about this one. Martha Stewart, who's 77 years old, is entering the pot business. I have a feeling her buddy, pot connoisseur Snoop Dogg, turned her on to this. You know, they do a cooking show together. So Martha Stewart is taking on an advisory role at Canopy Growth, which is the world's biggest cannabis company. And she's going to help develop a broad new line of products for both humans and animals. And the CBD business is growing, and that's the part of pot that doesn't get you high. And Morning Brew points out that growth means nothing if the public still thinks pot's a bad word. So partnering with Martha Stewart, you know, who everybody knows, offers a lot of legitimacy to a product that is formerly taboo. After all, we all have Martha's sheets and towels and cookbooks and probably more already in our house. So this is very good news for weed stocks if you're looking to invest. And Martha says she's particularly interested in developing products to help pets. And she's an animal lover. She's got a whole bunch of dogs, and she would like to help them as they get older. They get arthritis, and CBD helps that. So Canopy, the company she's joining, is conducting several clinical trials about how cannabis compounds, which is the non-THC portion, the CBD is the part that doesn't get you high, how they can improve human and animal health. And people say that CBD, which has the formal name is people
Nice try,
say
BL.
you pronounce it cannabinoids.
Cannabinoids.
Something like that. People think that it can cure everything from stress to inflammation and insomnia. And I used CBD oil to help my Benny with his arthritis, and it seemed to be the only thing that really helped. I am now taking CBD gummies from a company called No Borders, and they really do help you relax and kind of fall asleep. And so Canopy announced in January, this is incredible, it's going to spend $150 million to build a hemp facility in New York State, and that'll be its first production plant in the U.S. And then eventually they'll have hemp facilities in multiple states. So right now, the major players in the cannabis field are scrambling to win share. This global industry is expected to reach $146.4 billion by the end of 2025. And this week, a Cohen and Company survey said that the U.S. CBD market alone could reach $16 billion by 2025. So Martha's in the right place, you know. She's not going to go to jail for it this time.
Martha's getting baked. We'll see. There is the disparity between state laws and federal law, so that remains to be determined, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you said it has been taboo. It hasn't really been taboo for maybe a decade or so.
Depends where you are.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting though. I mean, Minnesota has medical marijuana is legal, except it's only for a handful of maladies. So it's the most restrictive of the laws that have been passed to make medical marijuana legal. And some of the things that aren't on arthritis, for one, is not on it, which is stunning because marijuana deals with a lot of the problems of
inflammation,
pain, and anxiety, and a lot of stuff. So it is interesting to see how this is going. I've been watching this industry for a while, and been fascinated with the marketing potential. Many episodes ago, we talked about how the mainstreaming of marijuana would affect marketing, because it does have a long history of underground use, but not just use, but marketing of it.
Least, yeah.
Marketing of it. So there's a whole culture, there's a whole art style that goes with this industry that is interesting. We'll see how that if that becomes mainstream as well. Funny. So this is fascinating. This is not funny. This is fascinating. I came across a TED Talk by a guy named Yuri Hassan. It's a 15-minute TED Talk. This guy's a neuroscientist, and he studies how information is conveyed through speech, and how stories are a part of that. And so this TED Talk is a fascinating watch and listen for anybody who's in the business of storytelling, which we all are as marketers, right? So anyway, what he says is, when we listen to someone speak, our brains are coupled to the sound waves of the speaker. And what he did is he scanned the brains of people using fMRI who were either telling or listening to stories. And the brain activity, the resulting imagery from the fMRI, the brain activity showed of different listeners syncs when listening to the same story told by the same person. So if you have an audience, he's the one who's on stage telling the story, and the audience's brainwaves are going to be synced based on his delivery of the story. He calls this effect neural entrainment. Entrainment. Sorry, I always want to say entertainment. Neural entrainment. So he took the same story told by a comedian, and had people listen to it. Then he took the same story and played it backwards, and that activated the auditory cortex, but no deeper in the brain. He took that same story and then scrambled the words. So it was just that the comedian telling the story, but it was just the words he was saying all scrambled, so they had no meaning. And that aligned the language areas, but no more than that in the brain. And then he scrambled full sentences and had people listen to the comedian telling the story in full sentences, but the sentences themselves were scrambled. So there was meaning in the sentences, but not meaning overall in the story. And that activated the responses in all language areas of the brain. But only when you played the full story does the brain get activated very deeply and into the higher order areas of the brain, because there is meaning being conveyed. Then he took the exact same story and translated it into Russian and played it before a group that was, one group was English speaking, and they listened to the English version. The other group was Russian speaking. They got the Russian version, and that activated the higher order brain functions. They were similar across both of those groups. So though the sound is different, remarkably different between the two languages, the meaning is the same, and the same areas of the brain were activated across both language groups. And then he did a scan of the speaker's brain. So there was very similar activity between the speaker's brain and the listener's brain activity. They took two subjects and had them watch a scene from the TV show Sherlock that none of the subjects had ever seen. And then they had the subjects explain the scene to someone who had never seen it. And the brain activity was the same from watching it, from telling the story that you just watched, and from the listener who listened to you telling the story that you just watched. So the brain activity was identical across all three different groups. So our ability to communicate is dependent upon our ability to enjoy common ground. And he illustrates this by telling that they did a study where they took a story by J.D. Salinger about a husband who lost track of his wife in the middle of a party and called his best friend to ask if he'd seen his wife. But before they told the story, they prefaced it with one group. They told one subject group that the wife was having an affair, and they told another subject group that the wife was loyal, but her husband was extremely jealous. And this caused the brain responses to be very similar in one group, but different in the other. And while the two groups had similar brain activity to one another, they had vastly different brain activity because they were prefaced by a different storyline. So they had different expectations for what was going on in the story. And so he brought it all together by saying, basically, you think about Fox News viewers versus MSNBC viewers. If you're told this thing about a set of facts that are the same across both viewers, but framed differently, then you're going to have fundamentally different views of the same facts. So it's absolutely fascinating. TED Talk will include it in the show notes at beyondsocialmediashow.com/261.
Okay. So there was a really quite extraordinary article in the New York Times this week. The Times has launched a newsletter called In Her Words, which is a newsletter about women, gender, and society, and it's going to be done twice a week. And the first story is about women taking back the word hysteria. In Serena Williams' new, oh, that's the cat. In Serena Williams' new all-female Nike ad called Dream Crazier, which premiered during the Oscars and has already had more than 6.5 million views, and in my opinion, the best ad in the history of the world. It hit on the idea of the hysterical woman as an issue almost as old as time. As Maya Salam, who's the author of the newsletter, points out, there's probably no better woman than Serena Williams to lead the charge of reclaiming the word crazy. In the past 6 months, Williams has been penalized, fined, criticized for what she said, what she's done, what she looks like. She's been called crazy by detractors for a long time. And the ad is a montage of some of the world's greatest athletes doing what they do best and defying authority while doing it. So Serena Williams narrating says women who express their emotion, and I'm very familiar with this, their emotions, their passions, their opinions, they've been called dramatic, nuts, delusional, unhinged, hysterical, irrational, or crazy. No shortage of adjectives, seemingly reaching beyond the sports world to how women in all walks of life have been treated through time. So women being labeled hysterical or crazy as a way to degrade them dates back centuries. Hysteria, which comes from the Greek word for womb, hystera, was one of the first mental health conditions attributed only to women. Around 1890, when the suffragette movement began, hysterical and crazy were used mostly against two groups of women: those demanding entry to universities, particularly medical schools. They're going to overwork their brains, was an argument, and women who spoke publicly. They were seen as abnormal, threatening, and repulsive. Does this sound familiar? Because in 2017, Senator Kamala Harris was called hysterical by the former Trump aide Jason Miller for doing her job, asking tough questions about Jeff Sessions' innocent intelligence committee session. It's a wonderful column. It's a wonderful newsletter. I look forward to the next one. Well done.
Wow, fantastic. Since I took up so much time in my previous segment, I'll keep this one short. I noticed last week that as I was using the desktop version of Twitter and writing a status update, putting in a hashtag, once I started putting in a hashtag, I got a drop-down list of related hashtags as well as data showing how frequently those hashtags were being used, like within the past hour. So it is a new feature that I just noticed. I wonder if
that is new.
Yeah, but it's great because now you can do some research and actually have some data on how frequently hashtags are used, or whether whether people are using the hashtag you want to use. And also it could be a trend thing because they are segmenting it, or they are indicating fresh hashtags, like how many people are using a certain hashtag within the past hour. So you can couple that with some trending data and get a sense of what you might want to use for your hashtag. So there you go.
I like that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure whether this was going to go in good or bad news of the week because I like what they did. This March 2nd would have been Dr. Seuss's 115th birthday. And to celebrate his stories, Farmers Insurance has a whole new campaign promoting childhood reading. And the story relates to marketers' news hacking and to the age of social political correctness that we live in. Farmers created an animated read-along video of the bestseller, Oh, the Places You'll Go, but it's voiced by Farmer's spokes character, Professor Burke, who's played by J.K. Simmons, who's won an Academy Award for the role. And so he's the star of the reality-based claims that Farmers uses to educate people about insurance. And by Thursday, the first video had more than 1.6 million views, and it's still going. And it's available in digital and social channels, and Farmers is encouraging teachers to use it in activities marking Dr. Seuss's birthday. So they created this 60-second journey. It's a visual in the narrative style of Dr. Seuss, and it's got strangely Seussian insurance claims that they've seen and they covered. So it has 4 stories, and also voiced by Simmons, and carries the message: the more we see, the more that you see, the more that you'll know, reminding people to go out and experience and learn more about the world by reading. With whimsical, page-turning animation, he reads rhyming copy, including, "You'll see that nature sure is wild, so it's where wild things belong, like wild bears who might break in, and moose too wild to play along." And then you go to a dedicated web page, and it has all the Seuss-related materials from Farmer and real stories that inspired the animation. So it's a clever connection. But Dr. Seuss is not without his detractors. A new study that just came out in honor of his birthday labels his books racist and problematic. Authors of the study say that he promotes awareness of racist images, and his children's books promote the formation of racial biases in children. For instance, the study says, "If I Ran the Zoo" has a white male carried by 3 Asian characters as he holds a gun, and the caption beneath the Asian males describes them as helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant from countries no one can spell. And then the only 2 characters identified as African appear in Horton Hears a Who, and they have grass skirts and no shoes. And then there was the Cambridge Elementary, remember her, Cambridge Elementary School librarian, Liz Phillips Swaro, who made a political statement that very quickly went viral when she turned down Melania Trump's shipment of Dr. Seuss books to her school. And she called, very erudite, she called Seuss a bit of a cliche, and she lectured Melania. Another fact that many people are unaware of is that Dr. Seuss illustrations are steeped in racist propaganda, caricatures, and harmful stereotypes. Dominic Sarno is the mayor of Dr. Seuss's hometown, which is Springfield, Massachusetts, and he said her comments that this is racist propaganda and that Dr. Seuss is a bit of a cliche and a tired and worn ambassador for children's literature is political correctness at its worst. But the story continues. In 2018, for the first time in 20 years, the National Education Association removed all Dr. Seuss's books from their annual Read Across America resource calendar. So, he's not without controversy, but if you grew up reading him, you kind of still probably remember it well.
Yeah, I like Farmers Insurance. I do a good job on their
Yeah, I do too.
on their advertising campaigns. But BL, you got me back with a long story of your own, so we're even. LinkedIn has new features. This is from an Adweek article by David Cohn for job seekers. They have instant push notifications, like you need another instant push notification, right? But these are instant push notifications. So if you're seeking for a job, they are notifications of when a job is open. So when a job is posted, you immediately, if you fit the qualifications, will get a notification, in which case it's a actually useful notification. So there's that. There also are job title highlights. So when you search for a specific job title, you'll get the top skills that people holding that title have, the top companies that are looking to fill those spots, the first degree connections you have on LinkedIn with people who have that job title. And in the search bar on the desktop, when you're entering a job title, then you'll also get highlights for that job title. With the highlights will show up in a new module on the right-hand side of your screen. And LinkedIn users searching for potential opportunities will now also see related LinkedIn learning courses. So it will point out things that courses you might want to take on LinkedIn that if you finish them will be attached to your profile, or if you pass them will be attached to your profile. So interesting new features that they're implementing. I checked, I don't have them, so they are rolling out as we speak.
Those are for premium subscribers, right? You don't get those if you're not
don't
paying.
think they're for, no, I think they're
Really?
for everybody. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but we'll find out.
Because they want to promote the fact that it's a place that recruiters can find employees. So
we'll see. So
it didn't say anything that there are premium features in the
do you have
story,
a premium
so
account, Dave?
I do, yes.
Yeah, well, that might be why you saw it, because I don't.
I didn't see them. I told you I didn't see them. But the article didn't say anything about them being premium features. I just want to make that clear. Go ahead.
Okay, so this week, New York's Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez became a superhero. This is from a story in The Hill by Aris Foley. And, Cortez is known to be a comics fan, and she's going to be featured as a butt-kicking political superhero in a new comic book from Devil's Due Comics. And there's a team of artists who are going to create what Devil's Due calls the mother of all commemorative comics, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez and the Freshman Force. The title and the subheading is New Party Who Dis, and that title refers to Cortez, something she directed toward former Senator Joe Lieberman from Connecticut in January, after he said he hopes she's not the future of the Democratic Party. So the company that's doing the publishing is in Chicago, and they said in the comics she's going to engage in a series of superheroic mini adventures taking on the GOP establishment from within. And it satirically skewers everybody from President Trump to his nearly endless team of morally compromised Republican cronies. And there's also, they're adding a book that will feature bonus activities and games like Where's Mitch? It's going to come out May 15th. And this is the same company that did Barack the Barbarian comic series, where we followed the bone-crushing events of our 44th president. And while we all don't agree on everything, we do share this is what the publisher said, we share a common excitement for the breath of fresh air the new Congress brings. I hope it's as much of a cathartic release for readers as it has been for us, the creators. So this should be fun.
Well, it's a smart move by the publisher.
And all the money goes to Racy's, Texas, and they provide free legal services to underserved immigrant families, children, and refugees.
Undeserved immigrants.
Underserved. Underserved.
Come on, Bill. Head in the game. So I came across this visualization on LinkedIn. It's from Interbrand. It's a fantastic animated bar chart, basically, and I'm excited about it. So it must be pretty cool, right? If it's a bar chart, but it is. It shows the brand value of the top 15 global brands from 2000 to 2019. In the animation, it starts the year 2000. The top 10 brands were in order. Coca-Cola is number 1, Microsoft, IBM, Intel, Nokia, Marlboro, Mercedes-Benz, HP, Cisco, and Toyota. And then as you play the animation, the numbers on the bar graph representing the brand value grow or recede depending upon how the brand is doing, and the places on the chart flip depending upon how well the brands are doing. So over time, you watch this visualization, see brands go up and down, you see numbers increase and reduce based on their brand value. So 2008, Google pops up and begins to rise. 2011, Apple shows up and starts to rise. 2012, Samsung arrives. 2014, Amazon enters the scene. Apple and Google are at the top. 2017, Facebook joins the party. In 2018, instead of having those top brands that we had in 2000, we have now Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, Samsung, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz, Facebook, McDonald's, and Marlboro is nowhere to be seen. Surprise, surprise. But we'll embed this in the show notes at beyondsocialmediashow.com/261, so you can watch it yourself. It's pretty cool. It's a good way a fantastic way to visualize a boring old graph.
How did they do that? It was animated by, was it like video animation or?
Well, it is a video, so so that's how you watch it. But I don't know what their animation was.
I'd like to learn that. So I'm on to bad news.
All right.
Okay. I found this really sort of astounding, but according to a recent survey by Visual Objects, more than 1/3 of small businesses don't have a website. And most small businesses, 60% invest in a website, but 40% don't. And of the ones that don't have a website, 28% say it's irrelevant to their businesses. Almost 1/3 of small businesses, 30%, use their websites to drive revenue, but low website traffic and competition from other businesses were the most common challenges for small businesses in 2018. And 52% of small businesses have in-house employees to maintain their websites. About 20% work with agencies to meet their goals. 2/3 of the companies, 66%, spent less than 10 grand to design, build, and launch their websites. More than 37% plan to increase their spending on websites in 2019. Of small businesses without websites, 28% said they just believe that it won't help them. And I was trying to think of like what kind of business might not ever need a website, and really there probably are a bunch, but I couldn't think of any. Can you?
I sure I can think of some, but that doesn't surprise me that a lot of small businesses don't have websites. I mean, if you've been in business for many years and you rely on word of mouth, and you have a good word of mouth network and referrals from other former customers or existing customers, then if you're making money and doing fine, maybe a website isn't top of your
well, if you have all the
agenda.
customers you want, you don't want to grow your business anymore. Yeah, I guess that would be true.
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't surprise me
Nice
too much.
position to be in, I guess.
Yeah. So mine is, we discovered this week that the seats have eyes, BL. BuzzFeed's Nicole Wynn is among them that covered this story. United Airlines and Delta confirmed that some of their entertainment screens, on the back of the airline seats, had camera lenses on them. Both Delta and United said that the cameras were included by the manufacturer of the entertainment systems, Panasonic, and are not active. A United spokesman told BuzzFeed a standard feature that manufacturers of the system have included for possible future purposes, such as video conferencing. That's why they were on there, and the airline has no plan to use them in the future. It's a big story because everybody is freaked out about all the privacy things that we're all learning about. I can see why. I guess I can see why it slipped their notice, but maybe people need to be thinking about the possible. People are probably going to notice there's a camera there and freak out and come up with a plan to tell them to begin with. Maybe hand out Band-Aids to to airline passengers so they can cover up the camera if they want to. But it's kind of a big story that really shouldn't be, I think. But there you go.
That's creepy. So another survey, and this one I think is important. This is from Martech Today, and it's about how marketers are actually becoming sort of wary of influencers. You know, influencer marketing is touted as the digital age's panacea. Word of mouth is, you know, what you're supposed to get from it, and that's the most valued and disciplined earned marketing you can have. So, but unfortunately, recently, endorsements by influencers, many of whom are purposely amateurish in their presentations, can have its risks. You know, we covered in episode 251. We covered where Payless Shoes duped a bunch of influencers by making them think that Payless shoes were worth $600 and $700, and you know then they made a joke out of them in the ads. So you know, buying endorsements by influencers can be dangerous, and so a lot of marketers are reevaluating how this is going to evolve. And the report is called "The Global State of Influencer Marketing in 2019." It's from Talkwalker, which is a listening platform. And they queried more than 800 marketing, PR, and digital professionals worldwide, and it showed that there's a growing fan base among marketers, but they're also very wary. 70% of the respondents pointed to the influencer marketing as one of their top priorities for this year, but 40% noted that ROI is, quote, a major challenge. So examples of issues are not hard to find. The Fry Music Festival fiasco in 2017 stayed in the news for a long time when influencers created quite a mess. The Payless thing that we covered in episode 251. And then there was the suit filed by a PR firm against Luca Sabat, who has 1.4 million Instagram followers, and he accepted $60,000 to promote Snapchat spectacles on Instagram, and then he didn't do it. So that's not even mentioning the bots whose auto-liking and auto-commenting boost the reputation of a lot of influencers, or the AI computer-generated influencers like Lil Miguela. So these kinds of downsides have put high risk into brands, and the report concluded that authenticity is, a little bit dicey at this point. So the survey also says that community size and readership is ranked not the highest thing among the influencers. What they want are quality and creativity of the content, and the bottom line is, the quality content is what they hope to get, but they have to also consider the cost, and it can be a dicey, messy thing.
Yeah, there's going to be a reckoning in the influencer marketing thing. I mean, those of us who have been doing PR for many years have been doing influencer marketing for many years, and there's a lot of legwork involved and a lot of analysis involved to understand who you're talking to and what you want out of that relationship. And two of the things that are problematic nowadays as far as influencer marketing is concerned are the tools, which aren't any good. They're pretty much crappy to get a list of influencers, and then people who aren't savvy enough to analyze the list that they get to weed out all the crap and find the few gems that are going to work. Because the tools are just going to go on follower count and engagement. If the engagement is being artificially boosted, then it's not worth crap. And then the other thing is the rise of influencers as a way for young people to boost their credibility, their esteem among their peers, and to make money. And so
mainly to make money.
Yeah. So they're only building their influence, quote unquote, so that they'll get sponsors and get paid. And it's not really, real influencers are people who are influential because they're passionate and knowledgeable about the thing that they're influential about.
And there's really no shortage of those. The issue is the people who are so good at self-promotion are the ones who are causing the kinds of issues that are coming up. I mean, we talked about during the California fires. I forgot to go look up that episode, there were actually influencers who were using the topic of the fires to promote unrelated brands. I mean, people do awful things, and they get paid for it.
Yeah, and I mean, influencer marketing is kind of it's kind of laziness on the part of marketers too, not doing the due diligence and the work needed to get the right people for your client so.
I have just a small rant. Earlier this week, I was pitched about something that I absolutely have never covered. I forget what it is. And I said to the PR person, I don't know why I'm on this list. I don't cover this. And she said, well, then you need to get in touch with, how do you pronounce it? Sison? And
Cision.
What?
Cision.
And tell them to take you off that list. And I said, no, I don't. It's not my job, man. I mean, just take me off your list, and anybody else who comes to me because of that list, that's their problem, not mine. And she came back to me 3 or 4 times and said, you really need to call them. No, I don't.
Yeah, they need to have clean lists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all right. Any more bad stuff?
No, I'm done with bad stuff.
All right, let's go on to cool tools. I got one that's pretty cool.
Okay.
YouGov does tons of polling, and they produce a lot of cool polling numbers, but they also have a tool at today.yougov.com where you can search their database for polling results, which is cool in and of itself, but you can also search for brands. And so, for example, I searched Coca-Cola. What you get back on brands is based on their polling data. 70% of Coca-Cola, not surprisingly, has 70% positive opinion, 13% negative, and 16% neutral. They have 99% brand recognition, of course. It shows popularity by gender, by generation, and then also what other brands people who liked Coca-Cola like. So you get related brands that fans of Coca-Cola like as well. So very interesting stuff. It's a cool tool.
Who is YouGov?
YouGov is a polling organization.
Oh, it's not a government organization. I was wondering what that was, where that was. So I came across Tall Tweets that lets you convert Google Slides into GIFs to share on Twitter, which is worth a look. And also FakeSpot.com, which uses AI to spot fake product reviews. And it's been endorsed by the Today Show, The Sun, CBS Money Watch, and several others. So that's worth a look. Do you have another?
I do not, but I thought I remembered a headline last week of some people getting sued for or getting taken to court for doing fake reviews on like Amazon.
Yeah, that's been happening. Yeah, that's really kind of cool. This one came from David Berkowitz of Serial Marketers, and it takes your headshot and makes it entirely out of emojis. It's hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have a sample of it. Yeah, it's fun. I have a sample of it in the show notes.
Cool. All right. Pro tip?
Go ahead.
All right, so this is a LinkedIn pro tip. Write several. So you've got a 2,000 character 2,000 characters for your full-fledged summary for your LinkedIn profile. Write several different full-fledged summaries to have on hand, so you can use them when you use them as you need it, and you don't have to write them on the fly. So one you can have as your standard default summary, but then you could also have for job seekers, for example, tailor your summary to the job you're applying for, because you will often either apply directly through LinkedIn or you apply for a job and people are going to check you out on LinkedIn. So if your summary matches basically the job you're applying for, you're going to be in the mind of the recruiter more suited for the job. And if you're in business development, so if you're at a company and you're in business development, tailor your piece to the business you're trying to win at the moment. So you typically get into have a RFP that you're going to respond to, or you're going into a meeting where you know some of the people that you're pitching to, tailoring your summary that way, because those people will likely check you out on LinkedIn, or the people that the company you're applying to may check you out on LinkedIn. And then if you're just in a job, you can have your standard summary. If you're not looking for a job, just have your standard summary, but use several different versions of it to accomplish whatever you're trying to do on LinkedIn at the moment.
Good idea.
There we go. Let's wrap this up. Daily numbers. Why people stay subscribed to retail emails they no longer read.
Guilty.
So top of the list at 42%, 42% said they scan the subject line to see which emails they want to open. So they probably just don't open a lot of them. They only open the ones based on the subject line, whether they want to open them or not, which highlights the importance of having compelling subject line to get people to open your emails. At 32% said, I like to get free stuff on my birthdays, anniversaries, etc. So this would probably be restaurants. Often, I mean, I don't know how many restaurants I've seen that have an annual email that they send out, and it's just on your birthday. You get a free something on your birthday, which is not a practice. I mean, that's fine, but having more than once a year is probably a better practice for your email marketing. 24% said I don't open them. So, okay. 18% said I'm too busy to hit unsubscribe. 15% I can't find the unsubscribe button, which is a problem in the design of the email, either deliberately or not. 12% say the retailer asked too many questions to unsubscribe, which also is a problem. So somebody wants to get off your list, let them get off your list easily. The last several is if people aren't opening your email, and even if they don't hit unsubscribe or they don't hit the spam button, it's as good as doing that, because Google eventually, or Microsoft, or whoever your email provider is eventually going to start sending them to spam anyway, or getting them out of the site and out of mind, because you're not showing any interest in them. So the takeaway here is write compelling subject lines so people want to open your emails.
Well, when you buy something and then for the rest of your life they want to send you emails, that becomes very annoying.
Yep.
And so if I go to unsubscribe from something and then at that next screen says to put in my email, I'm like, screw you, and so I just put them in spam and I never see them again. But, you're right. You have to make it easy for people to get out.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's by design that they do that, and they should really think twice about that. So yeah.
No, yeah, it is often is by design. We don't want it. We want to keep our numbers up. Well, your numbers don't mean anything if they're actually hurting you.
Exactly. So that brings us to the end of episode 261 of the Beyond Social Media Show. And you find us by searching Beyond Social Media Show. There'll be links to everything we discussed today, and that will be on beyondsocialmediashow.com/261. My charming co-host here is David Erickson. You'll find him on Twitter as D Erickson, on Instagram as DE Erickson, and he blogs at estrategyblog.com, which I highly suggest you subscribe to his newsletter. I'm I'm BL Ochman, and I am on Twitter as What's Next. My blog is What's Next Blog, as is my YouTube channel. And the show, beyondsocialmediashow.com. That's our website where we have all of the episodes and all of the show notes. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter as BS Media Show. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Home. We would love you to subscribe on iTunes and leave us a review. And we will be back next week, same time, same bat channel. Well, not same time. We'll let you know. Thanks for watching.